Transfer Insiders, Ade Oladipo, Rory Jennings. Don't forget 10 o'clock, the boys' sports bar. Jason Cundy, Trevor Sinclair will be taking your calls as well from 10 o'clock. Phone lines are open, guys. 03717 22 3344. We're going to try and squeeze in, if we can, a few more phone calls. It's been busy. The phone line's been hotting up about Mason Mount and Rory on his rants. By the way, Rory saved himself, didn't he, Anil? Anil's with us in the studio now. That James Maddison penalty saved him. I thought I won the debate anyway, but he done well with that James Maddison penalty. Everton. I don't know how you remembered that one, by the way.
You pulled it out of the fire.
Pulled it out of the fire. Don't get me wrong, I still won, but you pulled it out of the fire.
I don't know if you won. I don't think you can just announce yourself as the winner.
I can. It's my show.
fair. Can't argue with that.
Edwin Kandola is with us in studio. The player I was talking about, United player that said basically he doesn't want to play for them, or he doesn't care about them too much, is Dean Henderson. He's back in training with Manchester United. What exactly did he say? I don't want to just sort of put words in his mouth. What did he say, Anil?
Yeah, so this was obviously an interview with talkSPORT with the wonderful Faker Others, and he basically sat there and he said that he was so desperate to leave Manchester United because he wasn't going to be the number one, and he was that desperate that he wanted to leave before the new manager Erik Ten Hag came in, because he anyway thought to himself, at least, that if Ten Hag was to see him play and, perform in training, that he'd be desperate to keep him. And now, obviously, there's been reports now with De Gea, obviously his contract expiring, and Dean Henderson put up a video or a picture on social media basically saying what a great start to the week with some goalie gloves, obviously back at Carrington training and all sorts. And to be honest, I struggle to think of anywhere else to describe this, nothing short of a disgrace, because Dean Henderson was a player who was always so desperate to become Manchester United's number one. He
got that slot, didn't he?
Yeah, he got the slot, and he was unfortunate, in fairness to him. He got COVID, he was out of the team. De Gea played well, and then he was back to number two. But this is a situation where David De Gea has been there for over a decade. This isn't going to be a decision that's going to be made overnight. This is going to be something that Dean Henderson's going to have to prove himself. And I could understand if it was the same manager, but this is a brand new manager coming into Manchester United at the time. Everyone's on a clean slate. Everyone's on a fresh start. There's no priority. There's no favourite players for Erik Ten Hag. He had the opportunity there and then to prove himself as the number one for Manchester United. But the fact that he, off his own back, and look, we all know Faye, she's wonderful at her job, but she would never press someone or corner them into a situation where they say something they may regret. This was completely off Dean Henderson's own back to come out with this statement that he just didn't want to play for Manchester United because he thought he deserved game time. And now for him to almost think and be so naive to think that Manchester United fans have forgotten about that, I just think it's so
if
unacceptable.
you don't get Onana, and there's a lot of talk about a 40 to 50 million pound deal being done, and he probably will come, but if you don't get him, who would you prefer in the middle of the sticks, Dean Henderson or De Gea?
I'll have De Gea every single day of the week and twice on a Sunday.
Okay.
Do you think that's the correct decision, or are you making that emotionally?
Yeah.
Rory Jennings has just said I've made an emotional decision.
I haven't said it's wrong to make it. I haven't said it's wrong to make the emotional decision.
I think, look, we all know the...
It's firing shots in
there's nothing wrong with making the emotional one. I just wonder if...
He's only asking a question, Neil.
I've got a lot of time for Rory. But, look, in all seriousness, this is a situation where De Gea, look, we all know his faults, shall we say. I don't want to go too much into it because we've covered it to death all over social media. But you could never, ever question De Gea's contribution, his loyalty to Manchester United.
Yeah.
He would always go out there and, look, he would make the mistake, more than the odd mistake this season, as it's very clear for everyone to see. But never would you see David De Gea come out and say anything of the accord that Dean Henderson's come out. And I don't care if it is the best player in the world, because funnily enough, I just want to remind you, gentlemen, about Cristiano Ronaldo, arguably the greatest player of all time. When he opened his mouth, there was no coming back. And now this should be the exact same for Dean Henderson and every single other player that disrespects the club in the way that Dean Henderson did.
The problem is, can you play Erik Ten Hag's system? Will Erik Ten Hag ever be able to play his true system with David De Gea in goal?
If I'm being perfectly honest, no, you wouldn't be able to. But if you've got this, and it was suggested to me earlier by someone that, this bravado, this self-confidence from Dean Henderson is something that you really should have as a goalkeeper. It's an attribute that's really ideal in terms of, having a presence in goal for your team. And I understand that to an extent. But there's ways of showing that. There's ways of going about things and situations that don't put you in a position where now either Manchester United would look quite foolish if they brought him back after the comments that he's made, or he will look foolish for making the comments and then running back as soon as the opportunity comes when David De Gea left, because ultimately he hasn't proven that he's a number one. He's proven that he waited to David De Gea's contract to expire and then he jumps in. It's not the same. It's just not the same.
Moving away from the goalkeepers, loads to discuss with you about Manchester United. your thoughts quickly on this Mason Mount video from the opposite side. Obviously, we've heard the Chelsea side, and I understand that. From your side, as a Man United fan, when you watch the video, what's your thoughts?
Well, firstly, I just want to quickly say Rory Jennings on Mason Mount was absolutely box office. Although I'm a Manchester United fan, I enjoyed that so much. But look, let's be realistic. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Mason Mount has spent, 18 years at Chelsea? And if he didn't come out and put out a video, and he did come out and put a statement, for example, people would say, you spent 18 years to write on a piece of paper a few words about how much Chelsea meant. You could tell, and Rory will be able to back this up a lot more than I will, but Mason Mount isn't the type to cause issues. Everything that he will do is coming from a good place. And now, it's the way that people interpret this video, and they could have different opposing opinions on it. But I just think, look, at the end of the day, he spent so much time at Chelsea. It was the right time, in his opinion, to move on and start a new journey with a new team in England. He just wanted to pay his respects and just say, look, to Chelsea fans, I could have put a statement out, but I just wanted to say this with a piece to camera and say, look, I'm sorry, essentially, I've got to leave because it's my decision. It's probably the benefit of my career. And look, this is a situation, again, with Chelsea where, we were all saying yesterday, well, Rory was yesterday saying that, this is a massive highlight in terms of issues going on at Chelsea. And now Mason Mount's done that. He's followed the route that everyone else has, the likes of Kai Havertz, and obviously, as you alluded to earlier, in terms of Lukaku coming out and saying things. He's just moved on, and I think he tried to do it in the most graceful way that he could. Yeah,
I understand Rory's, as a Chelsea fan, if a Liverpool player was to, go to Arsenal. So there's no real hatred between Liverpool and Arsenal. There's a rivalry there, and there always will be. But if it was Trent going to Arsenal, I would be the way Rory is right now. So I kind of get it. But look, I mean, good luck to Mason Mount. Good luck to Chelsea, and good luck to, not good luck to me. We don't say that. We don't say that at Liverpool fans. I want to quickly get your thoughts on Højlund. You heard me speak to Andy Brassel there, a European football expert. It looks like United are looking at him as a potential number 9. I mean, what's your thoughts? We've gone from Harry Kane, Osimhen. That's the top tier, isn't it? And Højlund maybe isn't in that bracket. I don't know how good he's going to be, but what's your thoughts in terms of United maybe not being able to secure their top targets and maybe getting their 3rd or 4th choice guy in?
Yeah, well, I'd like to say that I thought Andy Brassel was brilliant on him. It does excite you when you hear that he could say what he said, that Højlund could be huge for Manchester United. And I think in terms of what you've just said there, he's not in the top elite category of strikers. Yeah. I think that's clear to say. But this is a type of player in terms of a profile that Erik ten Hag loves to work with. A player that's not at the peak of his career, who's not right at the top. Look at all the players that Erik ten Hag signed throughout his career, even before Manchester United. They haven't been these blockbuster signings. They haven't been these big names. They've been players with a hard-working mentality, which Højlund has got.
They cost a lot of money, though.
Yeah, of course, but who doesn't?
And Anthony weren't free.
Yeah, but who doesn't? You know. So this is again a player that I think will come into Manchester United, hopefully anyway, and Erik ten Hag will believe in his own ability and allow him the platform to progress and really blossom into that top elite striker mentality that I do genuinely think he's got the potential of. And let's be honest, anyone would be an upgrade to Wout's records.
How good's that window? How do you grade that? Look, and this is all ifs and buts. We don't know. Mason Mount's done.
Yep.
I think Onana will get done.
Yep, same.
And then Højlund. How would you grade that window out of 10?
It's a difficult one. I'd probably give it about 7.5 because although the play,
it's a solid window.
It's a solid window because at the end of the day, they're not. Actually, no, do you know what? Onana is probably a big name now. I'd say he's excelled himself into the top elite category of goalkeepers across Europe. But you look at all the players that they've signed, they're not massive names. Even though Mason Mount is an English international, he is not in the top categories of midfielders, in my personal opinion. But they've addressed the issues that they've had in terms of holes in the team. So you'd have to give it a 7, 7.5, depending on how they blossom at Manchester United. But like I said, the problems have been addressed, but there's always a problem at Manchester United, isn't there?
What we know at talkSPORT, though, in terms of trying to get those 3 in, again, you've got 1 in terms of trying to add the other 2, you've got to let players go.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of dead wood, if you like, at United, and players that I think maybe the fans won't be too upset to go, and Erik ten Hag probably won't be upset as well. Harry Maguire's one of the big ones in terms of trying to recoup what you spent for him. Obviously, that's not going to happen. No one's going to buy him for 80 million. But would you be okay seeing Harry Maguire leave the club?
Yeah, I think his name is on a list of many names at Manchester United that I'd be happy and open to see go. At the end of the day, Manchester United now are in a new era. I think the players like Harry Maguire and even Fred, do you know what? I think Fred does get a really difficult time. I was speaking to a Fulham fan yesterday, and if they do become successful in their pursuit of Fred, I think that's a brilliant sign for them. I think he's a good squad player. He's a good squad player, and he always gives his all. And you got to take that with a pinch of salt, right? Because it's not quite enough at the top level. But also, I do think he's almost been this mirror image of all the difficulties that Manchester United have had over the last few years. So I think he gets a bit of a hard time. But at the end of the day, Erik ten Hag wants to move forward. He wants to start this new brand of football at Manchester United and take them into the new era, really, under his stewardship. So I think several players need to go. And although the players that we have been linked with over the last couple of months...
Jadon Sancho need to go?
Yep.
Cool.
Really?
That's what I like about Anil. You ask these questions, he just, no.
He does.
There's no, no.
Yeah, it's nice to be definitive about
it.
Yeah.
I think I agree. Very quickly, Sofiane Amrabat, who, by the way, how good was he against West Ham in the Europa Conference
and just
League?
through the World Cup.
I know we always get excited about Declan Rice, but
team of the World Cup, wasn't he?
Yeah,
definitely
he
was one of the standout players of the World Cup.
Okay.
I thought, certainly.
Yeah, you've been linked to him as well. Not that you need any more midfielders, but you've been linked to him.
Yeah, well, obviously, as we've just said there, he really came into fruition at the World Cup in terms of being on the big stage and really impressing everyone across the world. And Amrabat, as you've said, in that cup final against West Ham, although they lost, he was so good. I'd probably put an argument forward that he was the best player on that pitch. And look, he's versatile. He's a workhorse. His passing ability is unbelievably good. And I think, although he's a holding midfielder, and stereotypically that would be in a position where Casemiro occupies for Manchester United, he's no spring chicken. He's going to need rotation. We're back in the Champions League and Casemiro is the king of the Champions League. He's got 5 of them already. So he's obviously going to prioritise that. There's going to be opportunity for someone to come in like an Amrabat to play. And also the games like Liverpool away, Manchester City away. Man United might want to play 2 holding midfielders, and him next to Casemiro with potentially a Mount or Fernandes in front of them, I think he would provide a real good substance.
See what the transfer window, see what it does to you as rumours. It starts you doing that, don't you? You start jotting them down where they
I've already given him his squad number.
Do you know what though?
It never happens.
The other thing that you could potentially level at Manchester United, and Amrabat would combat this massively. I think he's a really good midfielder. Casemiro, Fernandes and Mount. But the one thing that you could level at it, not necessarily in terms of tackles, but just being a little bit lightweight. You bring someone like Amrabat in, and then you've got that bullying quality again. You've got that steel, you've got that physical presence. So I think it would be a very good signing.
Anil, you were a blockbuster. I know you said Rory was blockbuster, but I think you were really good there. Fantastic. Ade Oladipo Anil Kandola.
Many thanks.
Who clearly knows exactly what he's talking about when it comes to Manchester United.